Travis Hipp is market leader of food and beverages at Veolia Chile, and he will be presenting challenges and solutions in circular economy for the food and beverage industry. So go ahead, please, Travis.
Thank you, Antonia. I really appreciate the opportunity and want to thank the Cámara Franco-Chilena for the opportunity and all the other great speakers up to this point. Today I have the pleasure of presenting Veolia's vision for challenges, opportunities, and solutions for the food and beverage industry in the transition towards a circular economy. Veolia's mission is resourcing the world. As resources, we apply our 160 years of experience in water, energy, and waste management, promoting the transition towards a circular economy. Over those years, we've worked in collaboration with the food and beverage industry across the globe. With over 200 contracts active in wastewater and energy management across all of the sectors, they help us understand the needs, importance, and impact that the industry has. This impact is significant, and as such, we have a very clear idea of both the incredible importance of the industry to our lives as human beings and the need for swift action and sustainability now. These are just this is just a snapshot of some of the major opportunities for improvement in the areas of water, energy, and waste that the food and beverage industry has. Globally, the strain on resources and the population projected to increase by up to 1 billion in the next 15 years. We're going to push changes in our way of life and our production processes. As such, regulatory systems worldwide are responding. We see extended producer responsibility, the laws here in Chile, such as mentioned by Guillermo, and abroad we see discussions of carbon tax in the European Union and water regulations in work in many countries. All of this pushes investors and financial institutions to pressure companies in the food and beverage industry and other industries to regulate their processes. Notably, the Climate Action 100 Plus investor group just published this year its recommendations to its investors for industry-wide changes, and one of those being the incorporation of circular thinking at the executive level and all production levels of food and beverage companies. So that is sure to affect change. Consumers too are more climate aware. We see this in new habit adoption and in economic proof over the last few years of their willingness and ability to support brands that are environmentally sustainable, moving in a circular fashion, and they're more than happy to be transparent about that on social media and in the news. So we need to be companies that incorporate circular thinking into our processes. What does that mean? Well, it's a theoretical framework promoted by Ellen MacArthur that many of us have already seen in other webinars. It divides materials into technical and biological segments and provides a critical approach to the way we use them in order to recover the largest amount of resources possible, extend their use for as long as possible in the life cycle, thus reducing negative impacts that are produced today by the linear economy. So with that in mind, we need to think about how do we transition from our current linear thinking to what is the circular thinking that the market and the world are asking of our industry. First, we need to look at our own linear concept. Food and beverage industry has a very long and spread out supply chain. Each segment of that supply chain has its own resource uses. And so we need to look at each one of those from farm to fork and determine what are our resource uses, and then what are the unique losses and inefficiencies of each one of those parts of our cycle. Because each of these inefficiencies in a circular economy represents a potential opportunity. There are many to discuss here. I won't get into each of the details of each one of the sections, but it's important to understand that the theoretical application of this framework is the most important part. So where do we stand in Chile today? Well, as Guillermo mentioned, there's a framework and a roadmap in place for the transition to a circular economy. On a practical level, there are already circular solutions available for some waste types. There's composting available to return organics to the land. There's recycling loops available for many products, not all. And for those that are not recyclable, there are options for energy capture through waste. and the rest are being sustainably disposed of in landfills. But this is just an overview of solid waste, and solid waste is not the only thing in the picture. The circular economy is more than just recycling, and there are other options. So for the rest of the presentation, we'll go through a few in the 10 minutes that we have. One of the techniques in circular thinking is the application of short loops. These are plant level, ground level applications where we use the exact same technique, where we look at the resources being used, the inputs, and the outputs, which are waste or losses or inefficiencies in our processes. So as we evaluate each of these inefficiencies, we look for opportunities to return them as resources or inputs into our process locally. Some examples could be the water treatment for reuse, which moves us from effluent to influent. Digitalization and monitoring of energy systems to detect inefficiencies and then implement new technologies, moves us from emission to retention. And then organic subproduct use and inverse logistics take us from residue to resource in just a few short examples of what are short loops. This in and of itself is a topic that we could talk about for probably hours. Another technique is local loops, where we zoom out to incorporate other parts of the supply chain, upstream and downstream. In this case, we'll take the example of agriculture. How can the plant processes return resources to agriculture or other parts of the supply chain? An example would be the possible use of treated waters for irrigation, either locally around the plant, on the property, or possibly even in local agriculture. Of course, the waters would need to meet standards of the environmental authority where the plant is. Another opportunity would be to design a system where you work with where we work with composting facilities or vermiculture plants to return our specific resources back to our agricultural suppliers, thus returning a resource to the land that will produce food for our supply chain. Another example of techniques that we can use on this level is cascading loops, where we look at our industrial hub, our neighborhood, so to speak, and look for opportunities to reuse our subproducts, to share surpluses, or even to optimize our asset management, whereas we can take the use of a existing water treatment plant that is subutilized and combine that as part of our service in order to reduce the amount of resources needed to construct our own. So in summing up, energy from biomass, water reuse, waste recovery, and biogas recovery at landfill are all proven pragmatic and successful loops that Veolia is employing with its clients in the food and beverage industry in Chile today. Each of them has significant benefits, and opportunities are there to be more widely used in Chile. But I'd like to go back to the short loop examples that I spoke about and just share with you a couple of these so that you can hopefully try and use circular thinking and apply it in your own cases. The first one I'd like to speak about is Prunesco. It's a fruit company based in Chile that was looking to meet its sustainability goals, reduce waste, reduce costs, and increase efficiency. They recognized that their principal subproduct, which is 3,000 tons of dry plum pits, was a source of biomass energy, and they could reduce their dependence on fossil fuel. So we worked with them to design and install a boiler to run on this biomass, and the project resulted in a 50% reduction in the cost of steam production, 90% reduction in the cost of landfill, and about 4,000 tons of CO2 reduced from their carbon footprint, all from something they found in the trash. Another example of short loops at the plant level is Nestle's Mossel Bay factory in South Africa. Nestle is known for its implementation of environmental best practices, concentrated on the reduction of water use and environmentally sustainable practices in waste, resource management, and greenhouse gas reductions. In this case, in particular in South Africa, they sought a partner to design, construct, and operate a water treatment recovery plant. The project resulted in the water being reused in non-food related processes, and the organic subproducts from this treatment are digested to create biogas and fuel their boilers, through which they achieved energy neutrality and reduced their water footprint in a water scarce region. Before I finish, I wanted to leave you with just a few high-level recommendations. First, As I've already said, we need to integrate circular thinking into our everyday at all levels, especially procurement and operational processes, and incorporate it into our goals. We need to look at incorporating short loop technologies that are existing today for quick wins in sustainability, close the loop on energy through biogas, organics, biomass that are produced from our own processes. And we need to incorporate eco-design and rethink our product and procurement processes to reduce our impact at the consumer levels. The food and beverage industry faces a lot of challenges and as a result, great opportunities to secure not only its own future, but ours. As I said, 10 minutes is just not enough to go through all of the possibilities here, and I'd love to continue the conversation. And I really appreciate the opportunity. Thanks again to the Cámara Franco-Chilena, Guillermo, Alberto, Frederic, and to each of you listeners for the opportunity. Antonia?
Thank you, Travis. We will indeed now